Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 1077. 4 Choices. What kind of saint-level sealed artifact do I want to choose? Derek Berg subconsciously considered what he needed. Due to the fact that the sun pathway was rather powerful against the monsters in the darkness, and with Thunder God's roar, he didn't have the desire for sealed artifacts that provided offensive or supportive effects. Instead, the pain from being beaten up while making friends made him subconsciously hope to obtain a mystical item that could provide stronger defensive capabilities. As these thoughts flashed through his mind, Derek suddenly realized that the question wasn't directed at the saint-level sealed artifact he wanted, but which saint-level sealed artifact could be used to exchange for the Creator's cross from Mr. Fool. He hesitated and frankly asked, "Your Excellency, do you have any suggestions?" Colin glanced at him and left his original position. He slowly walked to the window and turned around. "There are 4 sealed artifacts that are relatively suitable for you. The first item is called Sword of Silverdawn. It was left behind by an elder who died 1300 years ago. With this sword in hand, one can hide their malicious intent in certain actions, effectively interfering with divination and prophecy. They would obtain an exaggerated amount of strength and bring to their surroundings a dawn that can resist evil and degeneration. It can also stir up a powerful destructive hurricane of light. It can create an invisible and sturdy defensive wall around the wielder. Every time it connects to the land, its defensive strength will be unshakable. At the tip of the hilt is a single-eyed, huge-mouthed head engraving with living characteristics. Feeding the corresponding herbs, essential oils, and medicine to this engraving will give the Sword of Silverdawn different effects. For example, lightning strike, freeze, purification, decay, and exorcism. This sword has strict requirements for its usage. It's impossible to lift up if one isn't at least 180 centimeters tall. Below 200 centimeters, it will be hard to unleash its full strength. In addition, the head engraving at the hilt is very fond of talking. It's always talking non-stop. If the wielder doesn't respond, the Sword of Silverdawn might suddenly give up resisting at a critical moment, and even attack its owner. If the wielder is willing to converse with the head engraving, they will be pushed to the edge of madness. "This is what I want, a sealed artifact that's good at defense," Derek muttered to himself. He didn't interrupt the chief's explanation as he quietly listened to him introduce the other sealed artifacts. The second is Twilight Mask. This is from the first chief. It's a mask made from a skull. It can hide any malicious intent, thoughts, and inclinations. It makes the wearer feel like a dead person without any thoughts. As long as one puts on this mask, one will possess the power of a real giant and have control over the undead. Any living creature that looks directly into the eyes of the wearer will immediately die. Even those that possess godhood will be seriously injured. And even without any direct eye contact, the target of the wearer will slowly wither away as if they were floating across a river of death. The person wearing this mask can also create a terrifying twilight storm. Any item stained with the dim light will disintegrate, rot, wither, and die, losing the vibrancy of life. Most of the attacks, aside from purification, are ineffective against the wearer of Twilight Mask, as though no one can kill a dead person. This Twilight Mask is extremely powerful, but it's extremely dangerous. Even if it's not doing anything, the people around it would suddenly die one after another for no reason. Therefore, it must have a proper sealing method. No matter who it is, once you put on this mask, you will hear the sharp shriek and howls that seem to come from deep within the underworld. This is a psyche attack that will drive people crazy and make them lose their minds. At the same time, as long as you wear this mask for more than 5 minutes, you will permanently become its slave. This sealed artifact is almost useless. Although it's powerful, it can only be sealed. Only a mighty existence like Mr. Fool can ignore its negative effects. Derek opened his mouth but didn't say a word. Colin Iliad did some recollecting and continued. The third item is called Life's Cane. It can control beyonder creatures with low intelligence, and reduce their insanity for a short period of time. It can use incomplete spirits and various materials to complete the ultimate alchemical life. This could create an ordinary human that can exist for a long time. It can also create different dolls that could be used for battle and various kinds of things. This includes stone golems, mud golems, and steel golems. Any living creature lashed by this cane would have an increased tendency towards madness and losing control. Their bodies would also have a certain chance of mutating, producing watermelons, mushrooms, and wheat. Of course, these things cannot be eaten, as they would result in contamination. As for the living beings touched by the cane's tip, they'll be healed no matter how seriously injured they are, other than those that have already lost control. This cane will fill the surrounding areas with a vibrant life force. Be it plants or animals, it can grow with exuberance and reproduce rapidly. Unfortunately, it is useless against this land that is cursed. The person carrying life's cane has a high chance of mutating. The longer one holds it, the higher the odds. This will result in additional organs, or even them having missing body parts, being replaced by various plants. Sounds very sinister. For some reason, Derek felt a little horrified. Finally, he couldn't help but ask, "What's the fourth sealed artifact?" "It's from a demon which lost control. I hunted it and called it Fallen Flute. This is a plain-looking silver flute. However, once someone blows it, the living around it will fall into an unavoidable illusion. Their anger, sorrow, pain, greed, vanity, arrogance, and other desires would rapidly swell. Some would have their mind explode, others lose their sanity, or experience a loss of control. Being in the vicinity of Fallen Flute, all sentient beings, other than the wielder, will significantly have their mental facilities deteriorate, and will easily make mistakes. At the same time, the wielder of the flute is exceptionally sensitive to danger. Sometimes, they can even predict the possibility of a threat to their lives 1 to 2 days early. Wherever this fallen flute is, one's humanity will gradually degenerate, and all kinds of desires will enter center stage as their beliefs are cast aside. The wielder will also turn cold and be unable to have normal emotions again. The more they use it and the more they carry it, the worse it will be. And this might result in conflict with their own pathways acting, leading to an increased risk of losing control. After introducing the fourth sealed artifact, Colin Iliad's light blue eyes, which seemed to be filled with stories, looked at Derek and asked, "What do you think?" "I need some time to consider," Derek replied rather skillfully. "Indeed, this is really important to you. You can't rashly make a decision." Colin nodded. 3 days later, we will set off for the afternoon town camp. Tell me your answer before we set off, and reserve some time to familiarize yourself with the sealed artifact." "Yes, Your Excellency." Derek bowed seriously and left the chief's room. He wasn't in a rush to return home to pray to Mr. Fool. Instead, he planned on heading to the training field first to temper his various domain theurgical spells. This was a habit engraved deep within the pulses of every single person in the City of Silver. Only a self-disciplined person who could endure hardship was able to live longer in these desolate and dark lands. In a dark alley in the Backland Bridge area, Zio once again met the Golden Masked MI9 member who clearly showed kindness to her. "The judge potion formula might take some time," the Golden Masked man said. This was because, although the investigation into Zio didn't continue, it didn't end. Zio pursed her lips and nodded, as though she had finally made up her mind. "I don't want that formula anymore." "You gave up?" The Golden Masked man was surprised and couldn't hide his joy. Zio didn't directly answer as she turned her head to the side and said, "I'll exchange all my contributions for cash." After hearing her answer, the Golden Masked man nodded in relief. "It's best that you understand. Let bygones be bygones. You, your mother, and brother will have a brand new future. Yes, if your contributions are exchanged for cash, it'll be about £2,000. I'll help you gain more. After that, you can continue being an outer circle member of MI9. Having an official status is very useful for unaffiliated Beyonders." Zio was silent for a few seconds before her lips quivered. "Thank you?" She could clearly sense the kindness coming from the man in front of her, so she sincerely thanked him. However, there was no way she was giving up. The reason why she chose cash was because she had already reserved the Judge Potion formula from the World Gehrman Sparrow. The crazy adventurer had also claimed that the disciplinary Paladin Potion formula would subsequently follow. At the same time, giving up on the surface could effectively dispel the suspicions of Me 9. After briefly explaining the progress of the previous commissions, Zio bade farewell to the golden-masked man and left the alley. On Tuesday morning, Furs went out early and came to the Hat Trick Inn in Sherwood Borough, where she met her teacher, Dorian Gray. This is one of the things to take note of in the spirit world. This is a portrait of Bodhi's. Dorian covered his mouth and yawned before handing a thick stack of paper to Furs. Furs wasn't in a rush to read the documents, as she cast her gaze at the portrait. On it was a black-robed man who likely wasn't even 40. His brown hair was slightly curled, but it gave off an unusually firm feeling. His dark eyes seemed to contain countless objects. This is the Saint of Secrets. Furs rubbed her fingers together and used her trick master powers to burn that portrait. Not bad. Very cautious. Dorian nodded approvingly. He then carried his suitcase and said to Furs, I have to return to Pritz Harbor. It will arouse suspicion if I come to Backlund for too long. Furs knew that the situation in Backlund had been tense recently, so she was eager for her teacher to leave as soon as possible. Therefore, she didn't hold him back and watched him leave the room. Then, with the help of door opening, she walked all the way to the alley behind the hotel. Just as she got her bearings and turned into a street, she suddenly saw a man in a black trench coat walking over. The person swept a glance at her before looking away naturally. However, Furs's back muscles tensed up. Her eyes reflected the other person's appearance, a man who likely wasn't even 40. His brown hair was slightly curled, but it gave off an unusually firm feeling. His dark eyes seemed to contain countless objects.